In this installment, we're going to be going over the March 5th NBA bet slate we got going on. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for our March 5th Tuesday slate for NBA bets. But before I deep dive into this very, very intriguing slate, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetsJetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about that Patreon. We're going to touch on that very, very soon. Right now, we're on the homepage of the YouTube. We're currently at 1.65 thousand subscribers. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been so supportful here in the previous two videos with the Sunday one with 1.7 thousand subscribers. And then the one on Monday with Damian Lillard there with almost 700 views on that one. Continue to bring that love and support. I want that to be the norm, at least 500 views and up for these videos that I'm bringing. We're bringing free content here, and I'm trying to break down these games as best as I can. Hope you appreciate that. So continue to love and support. If you guys are already subscribed, continue to like and comment. That helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you are not subscribed right now, click that subscribe button. Our goal is 2,000. Okay, the goal is 2,000. Hopefully we can get that before the end of March. Okay, goal is 2K. Let's get to that huge number. All right, now for the Patreon. All right, we're going to be fully transparent here. We got screwed on some games. Mama said there'll be days like this. It wasn't even that like it was that bad. But we had my tier one was Nets under 213. That cashed. Nets money line did not, but I didn't put a tier on that. Lakers money line came through. Lakers under came through. Bucks money line came through. But then this Kings game pissed me off. This team was up by 20 and up late and wind up losing the game in the last 2 minutes. Same thing with the Wizards. The Wizards were winning this whole game, back a little bit of back and forth, but they had a firm control with that, with Jordan Poole going off. They wind up losing and not covering. They wind up losing by 12. I don't know what happened in the last 3 minutes, but they squandered the entire deficit or lead and lost by double digits. So Wizards are on the ban list. We're not. That's it. I tried. That was that one shot. I tried. And they screwed me. No. And then the Timberwolves showed up. Did not show up late. They were winning by double digits and then gave away some last minute points and wind up only winning by 5. Okay. So let's get into the slate and let's get to our winning ways. Our first game for Tuesday slate, we got the Orlando Magic, 35-26, going up against the Charlotte Hornets, who are 15-46 here. Looking at the odds, Magic money line is minus 375. Charlotte's money line is at a plus 290, with the point spread on both sides being at 8.5. The total is a surprising 207.5. And we'll look at that a little bit later with that total. For the bets and the money, 96% of the bets on Orlando, 99% of the money on Orlando. Jesus. 58% of the bets with Orlando to cover that 8.5. 48% of the bets on that point spread for Orlando to cover that spread. And majority of the bets in the money on the total of over 207.5. Okay. Injury list, Steph Curry's most likely going to be out, but you're going to have to look at news on that and look on news on Nick Richards. He's questionable right now with a right plantar fascia discomfort. So just stay tuned to the news. All right. Roto World, Roto Wire. I'm going to provide that link down below. Stay tuned to that to see if these guys are going to be in. Okay. These two particular teams played once already, November 26th. They still have 3 more games against each other in this season. The first game, That total went 247, and right now we got this total at 207.5. So I am going to be leaning towards the over in this. I think that's a little bit too low. Just looking at what they've been scoring lately. 106, 114, 99, and 85. So that could be the only scare there. But that was Milwaukee and their tough defense. 106 against Toronto, 114 against Philadelphia. They've been able to put up over 100 points, all right? Brandon Miller is going to be a key component of that with Miles Bridges. And 207 is a pretty low number, so lean to the over. If we're looking at against the spread numbers, okay, Magic away are 19-13 against the spread. And as favorites, the Magic are 18-5 as favorites, covering the spread. That's 78% of the time, okay? The Hornets on the other side, as home underdogs, they're 500, 13-13. And at home, the Hornets are 25-32 at home against the spread. So right now, these numbers are telling me that the Magic should cover the game majority of the time. And I think that just the best bet, forget about value, Magic to win, okay? We'll take Magic to win. And the numbers are telling me that they should cover as well. And I think that this number is too low at 207. Get it now before it creeps up higher. Next game, we have the Boston Celtics, who are 48-12, going against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 39-21. Looking at the odds right now, if you want the Celtics, minus 350 on the money line. If you want the Cleveland Cavaliers, that is at plus 260. On the point spread, 7.5 on both sides. That's pretty big, as you have road favorites here, almost double digits. And then you have the over-under at 218.5. All right, looking at the public bets, 94% of the bet is on Boston, 93% of the money on Boston. Point spread, 85% of the bets on Boston to cover, and 97% of the money on Boston to cover that line. And now you have the over-under, 82% of the bets on the over, 76% of the money on the over of 218.5. All right, for the Boston Celtics, we're going to wait on news for Jaylen Brown. This could be like a precautionary thing, illness. We get it. He just went off. He's not really sick, so they just might be sitting him this next game. They usually alternate, so they'll have Kristaps miss a game, then they'll have Jaylen miss a game, and then they have Tatum miss a game. So they're doing this little mix and match thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jaylen's out and Kristaps is in. So pay attention to the news, okay? That's going to make a judgment call pretty much probably on the over-under. I think the money line is pretty secure because the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're going to be without Donovan Mitchell for 3 games, all right? Donovan Mitchell, left knee bone bruise, will be sidelined for at least 3 more games, all right? You saw this Cleveland team just lose to the New York Knicks without Jalen Brunson. And now they're going to be going up against the Boston Celtics, who are a well-oiled machine. They're red hot right now on a winning streak, and this winning streak is going to continue. So the best bet on the board, the guarantee, is going to be the money line. I'm very comfortable with this spread at 7.5. The Celtics are 29-26 as favorites, covering the spread. The Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is with Donovan Mitchell, are 2-4 as home underdogs, and they're 13-16 against the spread at home. So both of those numbers are under 500. Now you do not have any Donovan Mitchell. We're going to be rocking with the money line, the spread, and we're going to lean on the under. There's a lot of stars out here. In the first 2 matchups, there was 233 points. Then 223 points, and now you got the total at 218. I'm going to be leaning towards the under in this one because there's a lot of guys missing. I do not expect Cleveland to put up a lot of points because they're missing their number 1 guy. Let's move on to the next video. Next up, we have Detroit Pistons, who are 9-51, going up against the Miami Heat, who are 34-26. Looking at this line here, this is a big spread. Minus 650 on the money line for the Miami Heat, or plus 475 on the money line for the Detroit Pistons. Point spread is at 11.5 on both sides, with the total at 218.5. Okay, now money line bets and the money for the public, 98% of the bets 73% of the money on Miami, 65% of the bets on Miami to cover, 83% of the money on Miami to cover. And then the over-under is creeping on the overside for bets and money. Looking at the injury report here, we have Tyler Hero so far. He's going to be out of this game. We're waiting on news on Kevin Love, so stay tuned to injury news on that one. They played once before in October, so very early in the season there. This was a 1-point game, 205 points that was scored in that particular environment. This team faces each other 3 more times, okay? Just looking at some of the previous games mainly for the Detroit Pistons, 2 blowout losses pretty much. Got blown out by Orlando, blown out by Cleveland by 10, somehow beat Chicago, lost by 2 to New York. So this team has been very, very Jekyll and Hyde. So we're looking at this line right now. Obviously, Miami Heat's going to win. Or I think Miami Heat is going to win. That's minus 650 isn't anything. What I would lean to is the total. All right. Looking at these two teams, Miami being at home, and that looking at Miami with the over and under, they're 23-37 so far this year. All games going towards the under. This team is the better defensive team. Obviously, they're going to outmatch Detroit Pistons. I think they can handle them offensively as well. And in all the numbers, looking at just against the spread, we have 12-17. Miami is at home, 12-17, under 500 against the spread. And as home favorites, they're 500, 11-11. So right now, it would lean to the Detroit Pistons to cover this 11.5, and I would lean to the under 218.5 points. With that previous matchup being around 205, we get a little bit of leeway here. I think Miami's the better defensive team, and they'll probably be able to control and handle and dictate pace for the Detroit Pistons. And usually the Miami games are under environments. All right, let's move on to the next game. We have an Atlantic Division matchup here. Philadelphia 76ers 35-25. And the Brooklyn Nets 24-37. This matchup is in Brooklyn, in Barclays. Philadelphia came through for us previously against the Dallas Mavericks and won outright on Sunday here. And looking at this line, you have 76ers at a minus 140. If you want the Nets, it's at a plus 115 with the spread at 2.5 on both sides. You have the over-under at 217.5, okay? Looking at the public money right now, 59% of the bets, 51% of the money on the 76ers. You have the point spread with 84% of the bets and 93% of the money on the 76ers to cover that. And you have the total at over 75% on the bets and 65% of the money on the over 217.5. Injury report here for both teams. Wait on news for pretty much maybe Cam Thomas. Ben Simmons is a non-factor. Day'Ron Sharpe is a backup. Cameron Payne is really, really a backup now since the acquisition of Kyle Lowry. So there's no significant injuries here that's going to really sway my decision. So we're going to look at some of the previous matchups here between these two teams. You had 120 points in the first game, and the Philadelphia 76ers won that one. Then when Philly was home, that was a total of 257 in that particular environment. This is going to be without Joel Embiid, okay? But this is a team here in the Philadelphia 76ers, 2 more matchups against the Brooklyn Nets, and they're a motivated team right now. You saw how hard they played against Dallas. I think you guys should hurry up and grab this money line right now at minus 140 before it balloons up in the morning, all right? Take that money line there. I'm comfortable with this 2.5 as it is right now. Grab it right now before it gets to the 4 or 5 range. And the over and under here, I want to stay away from that total. I want to find out a little more news on who's fully in or out. Is Cam Thomas going to play? I think it's a little bit of a factor there if we're looking at totals. But just stick to, you don't need to go there. We're going money line, and we're going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers to cover this. They're the better team, more motivated team. And you have the Brooklyn Nets on the second game of a back-to-back. So they're going to be a little bit tired here. And against, like I said, a motivated 76ers team, we're going with the 76ers in this game. Next game here, we have the Atlanta Hawks, who are currently 26-35, going up against the New York Knicks, who are 36-25 here. Looking at the line, Atlanta Hawks, if you want them on the money line, plus 120. New York Knicks, if you want them on the money line, minus 145, with the point spread being at 2.5. All right, the total right now is a 216.5. Looking at the public money in bets here, 87% of the bets, 88% of the money on the Knicks. Well, for the point spread, all over the Knicks yet again, 75% of the bets, 90% of the money, all over the Knicks here. And we have 77% of the bets and 73% of the money on the over 216.5. Okay. Now, this game has a lot of injury news. All right. So let me go back a little bit here. Point blank, period. We already understand the injuries to the side of Atlanta Hawks. They're only missing Trae Young. Trae Young's going to be out for a while. So this is going to be the DeJounte Murray show with Bogdanovich, okay? Him, Jalen Johnson. They got a nice little cast of characters there. Now, everyone fresh in their mind. You saw the Knicks win. Despite the fact that Jalen Brunson went down and they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, but that was without Donovan Mitchell, okay? So the Knicks, no Brunson, no Anunoby, no Julius Randle. And you have this team here as a favorite, 2.5 points. That's a little bit fishy and skeptical to me. I don't care about the first two matchups. Both matchups. Actually, I do care. Both matchups went to the New York Knicks, okay? So this is a 3-game series here, and you had the first 2 games go toward the Knicks. So you have a motivated spot for the Atlanta Hawks. They already lost to this team twice, by 6 points and by 2. Both of those games were in Atlanta. Now you have this game in New York. This is a perfect revenge spot here. We're going to be rocking with the Atlanta Hawks on the money line. And if you want to have some safety, take the plus 2.5. If you want to add a point or two, go ahead. We're not falling for this trick here. The New York Knicks are without Jalen Brunson, Anunoby, and no Julius Randle here. Atlanta Hawks have way more firepower than whatever Josh Hart, DiVincenzo can bring to the table. I'm going to rock with the Atlanta Hawks in a revenge spot with the better talent. I get it, they're on the road, but this is a spot where a lot of people are just seeing, hey, the Knicks played good without Jalen Brunson. Hey, do not discount that, all right? That is the heart and soul of that team. At least the Atlanta Hawks have DeJounte Murray to lean on. So I'm going to go with the Hawks in this matchup. Next up, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, who are currently 36-25, going up against the Toronto Raptors here, who are 23-38. So an East versus West matchup here. They're going to be in Toronto for this matchup. The money line, if you're looking at the Pelicans, minus 400. The Raptors are plus 310. The point spread is 8.5 on both sides, with the total being at 228.5. All right. The public bet percentage, 89% of the bets, 69% of the money on the New Orleans Pelicans. Point spread, 64% of the bets, 81% of the money on Pelicans to cover that spread, 8.5. And you have the total of the bets, 61% on the over and 62% of the money towards the under of 228.5 here. All right, looking at the injury news, this is mainly all on the Toronto side. All right, Bruce Brown is going to be out for tomorrow. Jakob Poeltl, starting center, going to be out for tomorrow. And Scotty Brown's broke his hand. He's going to be out for a while. So you're missing a lot of guys here. This is going to be the R.J. Barrett, Gary Trent Jr., Emmanuel Quickly. That's going to be leading these Toronto Raptors with a pretty healthy New Orleans Pelicans team. All right, this team should dominate in this type of scenario. Looking at the first matchup already, that was February 5th. That was a blowout of 38 points. Okay, so that was literally a month ago. And now you have March here, and they're missing their number one guy in Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, and Bruce Brown. So that does not bode well for them at all. In that previous game, Toronto Raptors did not cover the spread. Hornets was able to keep it close. So right here, I'm going to be leaning towards, obviously, love the money line here, minus 400 if you want to add it in as a parlay piece. Point spread, I would be leaning towards the Pelicans to cover this 8.5. And then you have the total at 228.5. I'm going to be leaning towards the under. All right. I expect the Pelicans to put up points, but I do not expect the Raptors to keep up pace with the Pelicans. Okay. So we're going to be going with the money line, obviously minus 400. And I'm going to lean, if you want to buy a couple points down just a little bit, just to secure something. All right. I would go to around that 5-point range, but I feel comfortable with the 8.5 as well because of the way that the Toronto Raptors team is hampered. Okay, very, very hampered. So I love the Pelicans in this matchup here. Next up, we have the San Antonio Spurs, who are 13-48, going against the Houston Rockets, who are 26-34. Looking at the odds here, Houston Rockets, you can get them on the money line at minus 300. Spurs on the money line is at a plus 240. All right, point spread is at a 7.5 on both sides, with the total being at 228.5. Okay, looking at the public bets, 88% of the bets, 96% of the money, all over the Houston Rockets to win. And you have the point spread with opposite, 71% of the bets, 68% of the money on the Spurs to cover the 7.5. And you have a split pretty much down the middle with the over-under at 52% on both sides here. Injury news. We have a big question mark on Victor Wembanyama. This can definitely really differentiate everything for this particular game. So you have Victor with a left shoulder soreness is questionable for this game on Tuesday. All right. So wait on news for Victor Wembanyama, 100%. He's a huge factor, obviously, for the San Antonio Spurs here. So it's going to be hard for me to judge either way right now because of that type of injury. All right, he's going to sway it either way, despite the fact how strong the Houston Rockets are at home. Okay, at home, the Houston Rockets are 19-10 against the spread at home. They play very well at home, as you can see. The first matchup was on the road. They lost by 4 in overtime, but the second game was at home against obviously the San Antonio Spurs. In that game, that went under, and they won by 11 points. Okay, so this team here, I would expect the under to come in, especially if Victor Wembanyama is going to be out. I already like Houston Rockets to win this game outright. So if Victor Wembanyama is out, I would probably hop on this minus 7.5 now before it gets even higher. If he's in, then I would understand about that cover. All right. So right now we're going to stick, because we don't know any news, we're going to stick towards the minus 300, and we're going to stick towards the under 228.5. Houston plays better at home and plays better defense at home. And this could be a very defensive type of matchup between these two teams. You got big guys like Victor Wembanyama and Alperen Sengun. All right. So let's move on to the next game. Next up, a big Eastern Conference matchup versus a Western Conference team here. Indianapolis Pacers, 34-28, going against the Dallas Mavericks, who are 34-27 here. Looking at the odds, you have the Pacers, if you want them on the money line, plus 155. Dallas Mavericks, if you want them on the money line, at minus 190, with the point spread at a 4.5 on both sides. The total here, a lot of points here, 246.5. That's a very, very high total here, but these are two teams that do not play any defense. All right, so that is viable there at that number. Looking at the public bet percentage, 90% of the bets on Dallas, 99% of the bets, 99% of the money on Dallas, 80% of the bets on Dallas to cover, and 83% of the money on Dallas to cover as well, with the total being everyone opposite, going towards the under of 81% on both sides of that 246.5 points. Now, Indianapolis Pacers injury news, no one really significant here. Aaron Naismith, who was getting some backup minutes, but nothing really to write home about here. The big news is going to be on the Dallas Mavericks side. We need to wait on news about Luka Doncic. Right now, it's telling us that Luka Doncic is questionable for Tuesday's game against the Pacers. So you got to wait on the practice. If he's able to practice, then he's going to probably play in this game. All right. You're looking at the previous matchup. That was a complete blowout here. for the Pacers. They won by 22 points, and that total was 244 in that game. That game ended at 244. So I agree with the under here, especially if Luka Doncic is going to be out. But the question is, who are we going to choose as the winner? Now, let me tell you this right now. We do not trust the Indianapolis Pacers at all. Looking at how the Pacers have been playing, they've been playing horribly since that injury to Tyrese Halliburton. As you can see, they had a horrible loss against the Toronto Raptors. This was a back-to-back game against the New Orleans Pelicans, so obviously win one, lose one. And then Tyrese Halliburton yet again did not show up against the Spurs and got dominated, all right? Now, looking at the Mavericks side, they haven't been playing too as good either. Got blown out by Boston and then were not embarrassed, but Philadelphia had full control of that game all game long, and they lost to Philadelphia at home, all right? Both of these teams, one team lost 4 out of the last 5 games, and the Pacers have won 2 out of their last 5 games, okay? So both of these teams are struggling, but I'm going to be leaning towards the Mavericks, all right? Kyrie and company, Tim Hardaway Jr., PJ Washington. I'm going to be leaning on those guys other than what I've been seeing out of the Pacers with inconsistent play, no defense at all. So my favorite line here is going to be the money line of the Mavericks. I feel comfortable even if Luka Doncic is out. I feel fine going towards the Mavericks winning this game outright. We're going to stay away from the point spread, and I would lean towards the under 246.5 points, okay? Last but not least, we have the Phoenix Suns, who are 35-26, going up against the Denver Nuggets here, who are 42-19. Looking at the odds, Nuggets are a minus 450 on the money line. Suns are at a plus 340 if you want them on the money line, with the point spread being at a 9.5 on both sides. The total right now is 223.5 points. Looking at the public bets, 94% of the bets, 88% of the money on Denver. 56% of the bets, 71% of the money on Denver to cover that spread of 9.5. And 65% of the bets, 69% of the money on the total at over being 220.5. All right, right now, injury news for the Phoenix Suns. Jusuf Nurkic has a little bit of an injury. We got to wait on news right now because of a right calf tightness here for Jusuf Nurkic. Wait and see further notice about him. Devin Booker is going to be out for the next 7 to 10 games, okay? Or 7 to 10 days with that ankle injury that he got in the previous game. The Denver Nuggets are pretty much healthy, okay? Looking at the previous matchup between these two teams, that was December 1st, so pretty much a long time ago. This game went 230 points here, and you have a total at 223.5. Phoenix Suns are struggling as of the last 2 games, lost them on a back-to-back series here. Lost March 2nd and March 3rd. And you have the Nuggets on a red-hot 6-game winning streak, and this game is in Denver, so that does not bode well for them already. All right, there's not much juice here on the money line. I do think Nuggets will edge this game out. The question is going to be the point spread, all right? We do have Bradley Beal back. We do have KD. If they can get some of these three-point shooters to get hot, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, I would not be surprised if the Suns can cover and backdoor cover this spread at plus 9.5. If you grab yourself a 10 or a little bit higher, then I'll feel comfortable with that with a little bit better odds. Now, looking at the over/under at 223.5 Nuggets, I'm gonna lean towards the over because of how these two teams play basketball. Denver Nuggets, high octane offense. To keep pace, the Suns are going to have to knock down threes. That's going to be, like I said, Eric Gordon, Grayson Allen, KD, Beal, Royce O'Neal. Those guys are going to have to step up huge. I'm going to go towards the over in this particular matchup. The Suns, especially if they're missing out on Nurkic, they could be losing that rebound battle, and that's going to be a big question mark there. So best number here so far is going to be the plus 9.5. That's the best odds you can get. I would feel more comfortable going towards that than, say, going towards minus 450 on the Nuggets, okay? Or if you're choosing the total, I would lean towards the over 223.5. I think there's going to be a ton of points here in Denver. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back with another video very soon. All right. Peace out, guys.